Community-focused, conservative-minded. This is AM 1100 and 92.3 FM, WZFG, Dilworth, Fargo, Moorhead, USA. It's 4 o'clock.
Looking into Colorado wildfires, I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. The FBI has joined an investigation into the cause of last week's wildfires in Colorado that destroyed roughly 1,000 homes and buildings. Boulder County Sheriff Joe Pelley says they've narrowed their focus to a neighborhood they think could be the site of the fire's origin.
Certainly not going to speculate. There's a lot at stake here, okay? But something ignited the fire in that wind on a red flag day.
Colorado Governor Jared Polis says if the fire was the result of arson or an intentional act, those responsible will be held accountable to the fullest extent allowed by law. The Food and Drug Administration today recommending extra Pfizer shots for children as young as 12. The CDC will have final say on boosters for the younger age group. Changes to CDC quarantine guidelines appear to be causing confusion for some.
Millions of Americans are going back to work today, but determining who's healthy enough remains up for debate among federal health officials. The CDC rolled out some new guidelines recommending people who test positive isolate for 5 days instead of 10 and wear masks after no longer showing those COVID symptoms. The CDC did not include testing negative in its recommendation, which was a decision that surprised many. Medical experts are also weighing in, including Dr. Nicole Sapphire, who says the Biden administration's CDC has done this nearly every step of the way with COVID. They put forth the recommendation and within a week they change it because of external pressure. If they are following the science, this wouldn't happen. In 2022, we need less politics and more science.
Fox's Marc Meredith, the top doctor for Congress today, urged lawmakers to move to a maximal telework posture, citing unprecedented numbers of COVID-19 cases at the Capitol that he said are mostly breakthrough infections of people already vaccinated. The 7-day average rate of infection at the Capitol's testing center has grown from less than 1% to more than 13%. America's listening to Fox News.
This view was worth a hike.
Right? And it's a good way to stay on top of my health.
Yes, I'm Cologuard, a prescription colon cancer screening option for people 45 plus at average risk. Have you screened for colon cancer?
Not yet.
Don't wait. It's more treatable when caught in early stages.
Tell me more.
Cologuard is non-invasive and it's used at home. It detects altered DNA in your stool to find 92% of colon cancers.
92%?
Yep, even those in early stages.
This was seen in a clinical study with patients 50 and older. Any positive result should be followed by a diagnostic colonoscopy. False positive and negative results may occur. Cologuard is not a replacement for colonoscopy in high-risk patients. Do not use if you have had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease and certain hereditary syndromes, or a personal or family history of colon cancer.
Most insured patients pay $0. Ask your provider or an online prescriber if Cologuard is right for you, or visit Cologuard.com.
I'm in.
Another member of President Biden's cabinet has contracted coronavirus.
Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin says he is experiencing mild symptoms since being diagnosed with COVID-19 and is quarantining at home. He released a statement saying he plans to attend key meetings virtually in the coming week as much as he can, and that Deputy Secretary Kathleen Hicks would represent him in other matters. Austin says he last met with the president on December 21st and had tested negative that day, which was more than a week before he started to have symptoms. He is fully vaccinated and has had a booster. In October, Homeland Security Secretary Andrew Mayorkas also tested positive for COVID. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
An official with the International Coalition in Iraq says 2 armed drones have been shot down at the Baghdad airport. There were no reports of damage or injuries. Today's attack coincides with the anniversary of the 2020 U.S. airstrike that killed a top Iranian general at the Baghdad airport. The CRAM defense system used protects American installations in Iraq. The CMT network is honoring America's sweetheart.
CMT is paying tribute to late beloved actress Betty White with a Golden Girls Marathon.
Thank you for being a friend.
Fans can laugh and reminisce watching back-to-back episodes slated to feature the best of White's lovably naive character, Rose Nyland. The marathon runs from 9 a.m. Eastern today through the overnight hours until 4 a.m. Eastern Tuesday. Lauren Faulkner, Fox News.
Amid a wave of COVID-19 cases driven by the Omicron variant, dozens of colleges are making plans to move classes online for at least the first week of the semester. Harvard University is moving classes online for the first 3 weeks of the new year. The University of Chicago is delaying its new term and holding the first 2 weeks online. Others, like Michigan State, are inviting students back to campus but starting classes virtually. I'm Rich Dennison, and this is Fox News.
Clouds will be on the increase as we head throughout your evening, with wind lightening up out of the east-northeast around 5 to 10. We'll drop down to a low near 2 tonight under cloudy skies with light northeast winds. The winds will pick up on Tuesday, though, 15 to 25, gusting to 35 at times under partly sunny conditions. We'll have a high in the lower to mid-teens. Snow showers developing later in the afternoon to evening, stretching into Wednesday early afternoon with 2 to 4 inches of accumulation, slightly higher in the Northern Valley. From the Flag Skywatch Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Justin Storm.
Pain. It's much different than being sick or having a fever. Pain seems like it just never ends, like it's always there, always on your mind. This seems to be the common statement patients say when they come to Renew Medical Pain Clinic in Fargo. Meet the doctor that specializes in pain. Dr. David Hansen works with your current doctors and therapists for a plan to manage your pain and renew your life. Renew Medical Pain Clinic. Go to renewmedicalpainclinic.com.
One more time, got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free. One more time, this got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate.
The Chris Berg Show, where faith and freedom reign.
One more time, got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free. One more time.
How am I doing so far dancing like Chris? Am I doing okay, Bridget? Is this
spot on?
Okay, good.
He
Yep.
sings though sometimes.
Oh boy, I
so
can't sing. No, when I sing,
we'll see about that.
yeah, glasses break. You know, it's not pretty, so I can't sing. I won't do that. My kids long ago have told me, Dad, please don't sing. Don't mouth the words if you want, but don't sing. Hi, folks. Scott Hennen here, filling in for Chris Berg, who is on vacation. When is Chris back? Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yes.
Wednesday, yes. So I'm in the chair today and happy to be here. And what I probably can't do very well is be Chris Berg. So I'll just be Scott Hennen. But one thing I want to try and do is certainly have you, have the same, I guess, love that you get from Chris Berg Show. Because whenever I listen, I sort of have warm fuzzies because you get a genuine sense of, I guess, encouragement. Chris is a great encourager. And so we'll try very hard at that. We have a special guest today, too, on the program. Marc Morano is going to be here. And everything you've ever heard about, well, it started really as global cooling, and then it was global warming, and then it was climate change because they all got exposed as frauds because they told you global cooling was going to kill us. And then they quickly pivoted to global warming was going to kill us and end the planet as we know it. So they had to just go with climate change is bad. And now the new phrase is, are you ready? Wait for it. Climate action. Climate action. Yeah. So this is challenging when you are in a discussion about something as momentous as the planet and climate, that when you are in a discussion with someone and they keep changing what the game is, what the name of the game is, how in the world do you ever have any kind of conversation with them? And I'll share my very elementary 5th grade level explanation because I think that's when my real education ended. Bridget, I think Mr. John's route in 5th grade, that was the pinnacle of my education.
That was it. You capped out.
I had a great senior English teacher. So senior English, I did learn a lot as well. But really after Mr. John's route, Alan Johnson, by the way, is still a listener to the program. Can you believe that? Lives down in Rochester, Minnesota now, and I still hear from him, my 5th grade teacher.
That's great.
I loved every second of the 5th grade. I loved it. It was fantastic. Everything else is a blur. I can't remember. The day I graduated, my dad said, okay, here's the deal, kiddo. If you would like us to continue to own this radio station, KMGM in Montevideo, Minnesota, you need to go down and be the Granite Falls guy in our studio down there, and no pressure, but sell $20,000 a month or we're going to be broke. Okay, all right. So that was my college education. I was now a manager all of a sudden and had to go up and down the streets of Granite Falls, Minnesota, and tell, sort of diplomatically, the businesses of Granite Falls, if you'd like us still to be here and be a thing, would you sponsor us? And that's not a very good way to sell, actually, because a better way is to sell, a product that's really good and say, hey, it can help you accomplish what you want, not you need to invest in this or we won't be here to serve you anymore. It's sort of like a, kind of a gun to the head. And I do not mean literally, just in case there's any snowflakes listening. I'm talking figuratively, not literally. You got that, Bridget, didn't you?
I got that one.
Super producer Chris, did you get what I was saying there? You didn't get concerned about my penchant for violence or anything, did you?
Not at all.
Okay.
I got it, Scotty.
Chris, the super producer Chris has got it as well. Okay, good. So anyway, long story short, other than a short stint at the University of Mary when I had some time to take a class, I have had no formal higher education other than, the 12 years I spent in high school. And the most memorable part of that ended in the 5th grade. So let me give you my 5th grade explanation related to the conversation we'll have today on climate change, on climate action. I don't even know what to call it, on global warming, okay? It would be this. The planet has been around longer than you can count. The idea that we, and the lifetime average age would be, 80-something right now? I think it's come down a little bit in the COVID era, but it's been actually coming down for a little bit after extending out with the miracle of medicine and everything. So let's just say it's 80. I don't know what it is. Average age is 80. To think that every 80-year-old on the planet now, along with every child born today in their next average 80 years, can impact the planet if they all just follow the eco-terrorist playbook and do A, B, and C. Recycle, ride a bike more than you drive, whatever kind of utopian world they want. It is arrogant to think doing that will end the emergency of the climate action. Okay? In other words, I'll say it this way from a spiritual way. It's arrogant to think that you saying, if I just did A, B, and C, there'd be no worries for the planet. You can't have that much impact even if you wanted to. Now, take for instance, another example. I'm trying to do my best 5th grade explanation on this, okay? Let's say we're going to say the eco-terrorists are right. Everything we know about the eco-terrorists, they're right. Al Gore, Greta, what's her name, Thunberg, all the eco-terrorists, and that's what they are, eco-terrorists. They want to terrorize our economy, and they are dangerous people. But let's say they're right for a week. We're gonna subscribe to everything and just say, yep, Al Gore, you're right. Yep, Greta, you're right. 100%, you're right. Yep. We're on board. And we're going to do everything they said we should do, and never mind the bankruptcy, United States of America, and in literally everything, which, by the way, is their plan. Don't forget Al Gore famously served, let me use Barack Obama. Barack Obama, running for president in 2000, laid out a blueprint in which he said electricity rates will necessarily have to skyrocket and then will bankrupt coal companies. Barack Obama said that, so don't have any doubt about how these eco-terrorists work. But we're gonna set that aside, all the bad effects. We're just going to listen to them, and we're going to do everything they said. And the United States of America will be this utopia of green. You don't think China is going to take advantage of that in a nanosecond and could care less? Every eco-terrorist should want the United States of America to be the place where every energy resource is regulated, because the bad actors in this world will never regulate it to the degree we do. And guess what? It's the same air. So it's arrogant to think, well, if you just do this, A, B, and C, everything will be fine. So this is why I love the discussion. And we're going to spend some time with one of the pros on this discussion who shaped it for so long. He really is one of the best, and he's coming to North Dakota. And you know what? It takes commitment to come to North Dakota in January. This is guts. We love people from other places that say, you bet, I'm going there in January. So Marc Morano is coming up on the program today. 2 full segments. He'll be here. And hopefully you'll feel the love, especially if you want to have better ammunition to argue with some eco-terrorist green, Ralph Nader type. I mean, they just don't stop. So we'll give you that ammo today on the program, and I'll do my best to be Chris Berg and encourage you through this battle. That's what we want to do. We want to encourage you through this battle. We want to share the love today on the program because we do love the planet. And actually, find me someone more than a farmer that makes their living off of the land that cares more for the planet Earth. You can't. I'll just tell you before the game begins. You can't find somebody who actually cares more about the land and the air and the water than a farmer. Yet they're the number one target of the eco-terrorists, so you just go figure it out. When we come back, one of the pros on this topic joins us on the program, and your calls, questions, and comments are welcome. 271-1100, 271-1100. More after this on the Chris Berg Show.
Hey, it's Kevin Flynn from the Need to Know Morning Show. And Paul Bougie from the Coffee Club. And we are going to Frisco on the Frisco Party Bus, but today's the day, my man.
This is your last chance to get on the bus, so don't miss out. You want to be in Frisco, Texas with us and on the party bus with us.
Go to am1100theflag.com, click on hot links.
Or WDAYradionow.com and click on hot links.
Our hot links are better than your hot links.
Besides, when you get on a party bus with us, it's a party all the way to Frisco.
And all the way back home.
Proceed's Right Choice program this year is featuring solo stoves, all fire, no smoke. Join the community of people gathering around their fire pits to create lasting memories. Join the Proceed team with their great products and great service to create lasting memories. If you need seed, think Proceed. www.proceed.net.
Jerry Breyer is here, the generous one from Gold Silver Exchange Grand Forks. Let's talk about why precious metals are so very valuable right now.
Well, many financial advisors are recommending that we buy gold and silver now. And with all the advertising you see on TV with the gold and silver, we can match and beat any of those prices. We recommend you load up on silver and gold while there's a good supply. At some point, the supply is going to get very short. And if you're not here early, you may have to be on a waiting list for some time like we were the last time in 2011 and 12.
Call Jerry and his team. They can be trusted. You don't want to be dealing with somebody you don't know over the phone, from a TV commercial. Give them a call, 701-746-9952, or online too at Gold Silver Exchange. Tell them Scott sent you to Gold Silver Exchange Grand Forks.
Are you the kind of person who wastes money on a cheap foam bed thinking you're saving money, only to have to do it all over again in just a few short years? Or are you a smart shopper who buys a world-class, handcrafted Comfort King mattress with the industry's only soft spot warranty? Sadly, most beds today are built with cheap foams that break down too soon and end up filling our landfills. The bigger the company, the worse the product. So choosing a cheap mattress and replacing it every few years means you end up renting it. Why rent a bed when you can own a Comfort King?
This is Danny with Grateful Gratefuls. An astounding 68% of customers will leave a business because they don't feel appreciated. Showing gratitude with unique, thoughtful gifting is easier than you think. We are Grateful Gratefuls, and we are your locally owned and serviced partner in gifting. New baby, get well, birthday, and more. Take care of your business by taking care of your clients. Visit us online at gratefulgratefuls.com or stop by 300 Cheyenne Street in West Fargo.
That you rip, break me down and build me up, whatever it takes. 'Cause I love the adrenaline.
Live from the PetroServe USA studios, this is the Chris Berg Show. I'm not Chris Berg. I'm Scott Hennen, host of What's on Your Mind, a program that airs between 8:30 and 11 right here on AM 1100 The Flag and other radio stations throughout North Dakota that can be heard, of course, all across the Upper Plains. And a gentleman that I've had many times on the program before is with us today. He'll also be with us tomorrow on What's on Your Mind because he's coming to North Dakota on Wednesday. Marc Morano is here. And you, of course, hopefully are watching his award-winning climatedepot.com often for the facts on global warming and eco news and all the rest. Been around for, gosh, better than a decade now. Mark, how are you?
Very good, Scott. Thank you for having me here. I'm looking forward to coming to the frozen tundra of North Dakota, even though that's of course a reference to the NFL championship games played in the frozen tundra, which isn't even a scientifically accurate term, but I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to see the people in North Dakota in January.
You and I met, I think, at some point when you were working for Jim Inhofe.
Yes.
Who was and remains a truth warrior on the whole global, action change stuff, and of course have been, up on the hill and provide a lot of great information. And I'm glad you're a publisher now, because you do so much good work. You ought to be able to just collect as many of these people together and give us one place for facts on all this stuff, because it's so hard to keep everything straight. So tell us a little bit about climatedepot.com for folks that are not familiar.
Well, thank you. You mentioned Senator James Inhofe of Oklahoma. He was the chair of the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee back in 2006. And I joined that committee as the communication director, researcher, Senate aide. And he was amazing. Senator Jim Inhofe stood alone among Republicans pretty much in the Senate. There were a couple other senators that agreed, but they weren't vocal. Senator Inhofe went down on the floor. We ended up collecting a list of hundreds of scientists' names, reaching over 1,000 at one point, to directly refute Al Gore and the United Nations. And from my time there at the U.S. Senate Environment and Public Works, I left there because it was just, frankly, too restrictive. The website, all the rules, the Democrats are constantly changing stuff. I was limited to what I could do. So I went and started Climate Depot in 2009, and it's been the daily source of environment, climate, energy news. And from there, we did the film Climate Hustle and then Climate Hustle 2 with Kevin Sorbo, all about the climate from going to these United Nations conferences. And we interviewed the top scientists around the world, many of them former UN scientists. Also have a book, Politically Incorrect Guide to Climate Change, which came out in 2018, and a Green Fraud, which came out in 2021, this last March. So I've been documenting this for decades. Went to my first UN conference 20 years ago in South Africa, the UN Earth Summit. And I know what they're up to. I know where the bodies are buried, and I know the con that they're trying to impose on us. And that's what I'm coming to North Dakota to give you guys just an entertaining speech, as I'm going to have fun with this. It's a serious issue, but I think when you see what I have to present here on Thursday night in Bismarck, I think people are going to really enjoy it.
Yes, and by the way, I understand you're doing a dinner with legislators that Betty Grandy is organizing from the Rough Rider Policy Center, and then you're doing a speech that's open to the public, and that'll be on Thursday, right?
Yes, Thursday night, and it's. I have if you check out my Twitter feed, you can find all the details on that, and I'll bring it up here a little bit later on in this interview. But it's going to be a topic that I'm going to go through. I speak to the layperson on climate, because what I do is I give you all the top scientists, what all the United Nations claims, and I will show you how absurd it is. And I also talk about the agenda. One of the things, if you go to Climate Depot today, you'll see one of the big topics I'll be talking about Thursday night in Bismarck. I will be specifically talking about the movement to go from COVID lockdowns to climate lockdowns. And this is a movement that has the blessing of the International Energy Agency, has the blessing of academia, the blessing of the United Nations. The latest paper published, which I have up as my headline at Climate Depot today, is a prestigious journal saying that democracy is bad for the climate and calls for, quote, authoritarian environmentalism modeled after COVID lockdowns to fight the alleged climate emergency. This is my clarion call for action when I speak this coming Thursday night.
And by the way, the group BeTruthful.org is bringing Mark in. So this is there'll be a book signing available. There's going to be clips from his new movie, Climate Hustle 2. There'll be Q&A at that event. And tickets are $35 for adults, $25 for students. Details at BeTruthful.org. And as Mark mentioned earlier, his Twitter account as well has more details on that. So it should be good. You talked about, go ahead, Mark.
Well, I was just going to say, it's at the, if I'm saying this right, the Bell Mahis Auditorium, 7 o'clock this Thursday night. And doors open at 6. And again, this is going to be a comedy horror show, a comedy chiller, if you will. We're going to have fun, but it's also very serious.
Yeah, the Belmayhoos is how you say it, but you can't mess it up. Everybody says it a little bit differently, but yeah, it's a famous little theater in downtown Bismarck.
Yes.
That has great history. They've restored it. It's a beautiful place. So it'll be a great spot for it. Really is. This is how you should spend an evening, rather than in front of some corporate media, whatever. Even the corporate media that's supposedly conservative isn't all that conservative anymore. So, and they shy away from this topic. They want to be able to get invited to cocktail parties. So it's it's the game. You mentioned earlier that this is a con. Explain the con. What how are we being played here, Mark?
Well, here's the con. And actually in my book, Green Fraud, I devote a whole chapter to this idea. Here's what's happened. 50 years ago, the overpopulation scare book, the overpopulation bomb with Paul Ehrlich came out. He's still alive, still winning awards. He predicted famines, resource scarcity, mass deaths, all because there'd be too many people on Earth. He was derided at the time by other experts, but the media went with it and the environmental left embraced him. The solutions that he proposed were very similar to the Green New Deal solutions that we hear about today. Everything from sovereignty limiting treaties to wealth redistribution to massive restrictions on our freedom to government oversight of every aspect of your life by unelected officials. Moving to the 1970s, the man-made global cooling scare. Now, before we were worried about, before fossil fuels caused global warming, fossil fuels caused global cooling. They thought that the aerosols from fossil fuels were blocking the sun, causing global dimming. There were proposals to put ice on the Arctic cap and black soot on the Arctic cap, ice cap to melt it. And the exact same issues, whether it was tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, were all blamed on man-made global cooling. CIA reports warned of this. There were academia letters to President Nixon warning of global cooling. Walter Cronkite reported on it. ABC News. This was a thing in the 1970s. The same solutions in my chapter in Green Fraud, I go through, it literally reads like the Green New Deal. So what you realize, and then you go into the 1980s and you have the Amazon rainforest scare. In the 1990s, you had Sting's rainforest concerts and the species extinction. And then global warming really took over in the 2000s. Al Gore's film came out in 2006. One constant among all this, and it's a con, regardless of the environmental scare, the solution is always the same. And it's always less liberty, less freedom, more government control, less sovereignty, and massive wealth redistribution. I mean, that's the hallmark. And then there's a lot more they've added in recent years. So what's shocking about this, and the real con now comes in, everyone knows what a COVID lockdown is, right? Where the government, unelected bureaucrats and mayors and governors declared emergencies without consent of legislator and just literally put restrictions on our freedom to where we never even thought possible in the once free West, whether it was, going to get a haircut, leave your home, stay at home curfews, barbecues, weddings, funerals. You had to only go out for essential services. The whole economy was shut down. Your freedom of movement was shut, all because of a public health emergency. Well, at first, the climate activists were angry. They said, if we can do that for, how come they can do that overnight for a virus, but we've been trying that for 3 decades on climate and got nowhere. Then the climate activists said, we need to piggyback on this. And that's what a big part of my speech is going to go through. You will be shocked from everything from Anthony Fauci on down, how they are literally calling for a suspension of civil liberties and freedom to fight the climate emergency modeled exactly after COVID lockdowns. And this is the con, is that even if you followed all of their prescriptions, meaning if we fully implement the Green New Deal, fully implemented the UN Paris Climate Agreement, and we fully implemented cap and trade and whatever else, anyone's proposed, the Earth not only wouldn't notice climatologically, the Earth wouldn't even notice CO2-wise, because these proposals wouldn't even make a dent in our emissions, let alone the climate, assuming CO2 is the control knob of climate, which it's not. So if we actually did face the climate emergency, nothing they proposed would have any impact. We would all be doomed if we had to rely on their proposals. That, to me, is the biggest con. In other words, they say, we need to do this to save us from a bad climate. And you say, okay, if we do everything you say, are we going to be saved? And their answer is, well, no, this is actually just a first step. In other words, they believe you have to give up freedom, economic freedom, personal freedom in order to fight climate. And then they admit that it wouldn't even make a difference in the end. John Kerry has admitted literally that point several times, that even if we brought our emissions down to zero, which isn't even possible, the climate wouldn't notice. The emissions wouldn't even, global emissions wouldn't even notice.
Yeah, one thing that rings in my ears is Barack Obama, San Francisco Examiner, as a candidate for president.
Yes.
When they don't usually speak this candidly, but he talked about the plan is we need to bankrupt the coal companies. Electricity prices will necessarily skyrocket, and then essentially we'll force all this green stuff on people because they'll have no choice. But what he said out loud was, we're out to bankrupt coal. Now, it's very obvious that was what the whole movement's trying to do. Nobody ever says that out loud. But
yeah, it's not just coal. They're going after, Biden's going after fracking. You have his nominee who didn't make it, Biden's presidential cabinet nominee. She literally was proposing and bragging about bankrupting American coal, oil, and gas industries in light of the climate emergency. This is the stated goal of the Biden administration. And one of the first things they did is stop the Keystone Pipeline. I mean, you've heard this litany, and probably your audience knows it, but he stopped all this executive orders immediately. What happens? Within a few months, gas prices are skyrocketing. You have the spectacle of the Biden administration begging OPEC to increase oil production. You have the spectacle of Russian oil imports at an 11-year high to the United States and going higher. And you have the spectacle of all the green energy mandates forcing us to rely more on China with slave labor for solar and wind panels and rare earth mining, which is happening in Africa with underage kids. So it is just, if you wanted to destroy America, and by the way, 2019, 2020, America not only achieved energy independence, but energy dominance. For the first time since Harry Truman was president, this is before Biden got in, we had more energy exports than imports, more energy production than consumption. This was a first in nearly 70 years. And this is what we threw away. And now, what is it? 1 year of the Biden administration. And now look at us. We are just being decimated economically, our energy supplies, supply chain, and it just continues. We need to come out of this whole COVID lockdown, but we also need a rational energy policy. And this is just, if you wanted to destroy America, this is what you would do. Shut down domestic energy, make us more reliant on foreign sources, back to endless Middle Eastern wars, back, more China reliance, more reliance on Russia, more reliance on autocratic dictator regimes. It's just incredible. It's the exact way you'd want to destroy America, and they're following the plan to a T.
They are. And, North Dakota is a great example. Federal lands off limits day one from the Biden administration on drilling. Well, guess what? That means less supply, which is going to do what? Drive up the price as the economy, economy comes roaring back and the demand increases. They caused the problem. They did it. And by the way, they own it. But then you ask them, what's your solution here? As Jennifer Granholm was on Bloomberg, and she laughs and said, like, we can do anything. No, wait a minute. You already did it, lady. I mean, you can't make up their level of stupidity. It is unbelievable. Now they're starting to obviously do, some things around the edges, like on the federal land. Okay, we'll open up again, but we'll have all these restrictions. And by the way, little known fact, you've probably followed this, Mark. The Biden administration, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, is still trying to shut down DAPL, the Dakota Access Pipeline, which currently takes half of our capacity to market, one half. They're trying to expand it so it would take even more, but they are trying to shut it down and do this expanded environmental impact study, which is ridiculous. And that is the Biden administration. So they're trying some of this stuff overtly and some of it covertly. That's why you need people like Marc Morano on that wall. We're going to take a break, come back, more of our conversation with him. If you have questions or comments on this, they're welcome. 271-1100. 271-1100. Bookmark climatedepot.com. It is a great resource. More with Marc Morano coming up from the PetroServe USA studios, where you have home cooking, grab and go convenience. You're on the way home, want to grab something quick. If you don't have Bison apparel, get your Bison apparel at the official convenience store of the NDSU Bison, PetroServe USA. Okay? And it's your last week of the entire season to register for 2 $500 giveaways. The Bison Game Day giveaway will happen on Saturday at the big game, national championship for the NDSU Bison. Have your Bison wear on, have your name in for the big drawing. You could win 500 smackaroonies from PetroServe USA. That's a whole lot of home cooking, whole lot of grab and go convenience, and a whole lot of fuel in your tank from PetroServe USA. More after this.
Clouds will be on the increase as we head throughout your evening, with wind lightening up out of the east-northeast around 5 to 10. We'll drop down to a low near 2 tonight under cloudy skies with light northeast winds. The winds will pick up on Tuesday, though, 15 to 25, gusting to 35 at times under partly sunny conditions. We'll have a high in the lower to mid-teens. Snow showers developing later in the afternoon to evening, stretching into Wednesday early afternoon with 2 to 4 inches of accumulation, slightly higher in the northern valley. From the Flag Skywatch Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Justin Storm.
Hey, Chris Berg here. We're in the middle of winter. The roads can get a little bit slushy, and that means your car can get extra dirty. You and I both know how it feels when you get into a nice, clean car. That can happen at your local PetroServe USA. And the good news is, on Tuesdays, it's buy one, get one free. Yes, buy one, get one free every Tuesday at your PetroServe USA for a great, great car wash where you can drive around and have that nice little sparkle on your ride. Step into your PetroServe USA, helping you and America fuel better.
Hi, Jeff from a Cutting Edge Gallery of Jewelry with a message for everybody. We talk about cutting. What does that actually mean? Cutting on a diamond determines the brilliance that every stone is capable of. Whether it's a round and oval, cushion, an emerald cut, or radiant, it's all about the cutting. After cutting stones for 37 years, we've learned things that no other jewelers have figured out. So if you want to see the absolute best, brightest, whitest, cleanest stones for your money, come to a Cutting Edge, 4507 33rd Avenue South, right here in Fargo.
We've been working with businesses for years, and the thing that business owners don't think about until it's too late is liability. We can help reduce your risk and keep you safe from false accusations. Go to Trinspin.com to learn more. Trinspin, your go-to for all things technology.
Now more than ever, it's important to support companies and organizations that share our values. Patriot Mobile not only shares our beliefs, but actually does something about it. America's only Christian conservative wireless carrier. And they donate a portion of every dollar to organizations that fight for causes you care about. Switch to Patriot Mobile now. Get free activation with the code FLAGFAMILY. Switching is easy. Go to patriotmobile.com/flagfamily. patriotmobile.com/flagfamily or call 972-PATRIOT. 972-PATRIOT.
Save 25% on awesome ice fishing at Roy Lake State Park in South Dakota. Beautiful setting, great ice fishing, and special deals on suites. They are filling up for January through March. Reserve your lodging for an awesome time pulling out perch, northern, and big walleye. Save 25% on suites while dates are still available. Rates start at $90 a night and can sleep up to 10 people. Find the info on Facebook at Roy Lake State Park and see more details at GoOutdoorsSouthDakota.com.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the community I call home. I'm a better neighbor because my service has taught me how important it is to be a team player. My training helps me in my classes when I give attention to detail to the task at hand. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my country safe from threats. Learn more about how you too can live and serve part-time by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the North Dakota Army National Guard. Aired by the North Dakota Broadcasters Association at this station.
In this season of giving, give a life-changing gift to yourself or someone you love. Give the gift of education. What better time than now to complete a bachelor's degree, earn a graduate degree, or tailor your education with a certificate from the University of Mary. With classes available online in the evenings or a combination of both, your degree at Mary will fit into your schedule. Give yourself the gift of a flexible, affordable education from Mary. Learn more at online.umary.edu. online.umary.edu.
Al Gore wants to rule the world. So does Greta Thunberg. So does John Kerry. So does Joe Biden. They want to rule the world, and this is a great game they're playing here with your money. Actually, it's always easier when it's other people's money, and they're really, really good at that. And the damage they could do to the economy with what they want to do knows no bounds, and the benefit is so ridiculously small. It's certainly just a simple ROI. You say it's crazy. That's why we have pros like Marc Morano here from ClimateDepot.com to find out more about his good work. I'd suggest you book that, you take it in, and you make it part of your check-in, so you can better argue with your friends, families, and maybe just folks that just think they know everything about climate change and my gosh, the oil industry, the coal industry, they just love it. ClimateDepot.com. Bookmark that. All right, and we're live today in the PetroServe USA studio. So, Mark, not a lot of time left. I know you're going to chat with us tomorrow, but I want to cover two things. And that is what we think is realistic. I get what they want, but what do we think that is realistic that they're going to get? I call them eco-terrorists, by the way, because the Dakota Access Pipeline, for me, when I saw how, they're really, really good at this, right? They get these citizen journalists in here. They're keyboard warriors, and they act like, they just are very good at telling a story. None of it's true, but they're really, really good at telling a story. So knowing what we're up against, what do we think they'll ultimately accomplish, and what will it look like? Okay. Because there's very few Marc Moranos in this world that are fighting this. So that's one thing. And the second thing, I'll start with the second thing, is, to me, the way to win this argument is to have people understand how arrogant it is to think if you just did this, the climate would be better. It's to me, it's a creepy, evil kind of religion. And I think, man, this planet has been around how many years? We're here average age 80, to think, oh, if we just did this, that's arrogant. It's like ridiculous to say if you just changed your behavior and put more plastic bottles in recycling, then this stuff wouldn't happen. Obviously you got to be smart about it and take in innovation and technology and do what we can. But it's arrogant, isn't it, to think that somehow we have the power to change this?
Yeah, you have people like Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, actually say, everyone knows if we had done more on climate, like more UN treaties or cap and trade, the hurricanes would be a lot less severe. We had people after the recent tornado outbreak claim that, had we done the UN...
Mark froze up on us on the live feed there, Chris. And it looks like he's frozen on the screen. We're connected, by the way, so you can watch this in addition to listening to this. That's one of the nice things about a guy like Chris Berg, who's been on the TV before. Right, Bridget? People actually like looking at him, so people actually watch the stream here. And,
Imagine that.
I know.
Imagine people wanting to.
He's got one of those hairdos, He's got the TV hairdo. He's got the look for TV. This, Stanford quarterback. So a lot of folks are watching the Chris Berg Show on TV, and I'm glad they do. But every once in a while, we get a little bugaboo because of that. So I don't know if you want to call Mark, Chris, or what you want to do, because I'm dying to hear his answer here. I really am. So while we're waiting to reconnect with Mark, and I'll let Bridget, you and Chris figure that out, okay? I want to do something I was going to do at the end last segment, and that is one of the things I appreciate about Chris Berg Show is he laughs. He laughs. He has a good time. That's very important for us talk show hosts to remember. You got to be able to laugh. You got to be able to just, never lose your sense of humor. No matter what's happening, as soon as we get so dire and so sour-pussed up about what's happening in this world that we don't laugh, we're in real trouble. So I want you to be able to laugh once in a while, and I have a clip from the Golden Girls coming up in tribute to Betty White, who we lost over the weekend, who was within inches of 100 years old. So just remember that. That's coming up. Mark, we got you back. How are you?
Yeah, we had a big snowstorm, ironically, which I'm sure the climate alarmists say is caused by global warming. We're having a lot of power outages, so I assume the Wi-Fi got messed up there for a second. But I'm back.
Not a problem. But you were in the process of answering the question of how arrogant it is, and I appreciate you bringing up the example of the snowstorm, because that'll be blamed on climate change, tornadoes, hurricanes, all of that. That's their game.
Well, what I was saying is even Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, actually said we wouldn't have all these hurricanes if we had done something on climate. The recent tornadoes were blamed on climate change. The Earth is billions of years old. For people to sit here and say this storm would have been better, it's nonsense. It's literally, people have compared it to a seance or astrology. It's utter nonsense. Even the United Nations admits that hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, droughts, wildfires are either no trend or declining trends on climate timescales. So I think your question was, how realistic. Here's where they're realistic. Here's where they can hammer us, and people won't even realize it. If you noticed, and this is what I'll be talking about Thursday night at 7 p.m., betruthful.org. You can hear my speech. But essentially, the climate campaigners don't want a vote on the Green New Deal. They don't want the UN Paris Agreement ratified. The Biden administration and the current thinking in the climate campaign is to do all of this without public notice. They don't want town halls. They don't want hearings. They don't want committee meetings. They want to impose this through the bureaucratic state. Biden has announced every cabinet agency is a climate agency. He's doing all this through executive order. The Green New Deal is not being voted on. Did you know that? They introduced it, but there's no hearings. There's no scheduled vote on it. They know it wouldn't pass, but it doesn't need to pass. They're implementing it right now. They're trying to use children in lawsuits, and I'll be talking about this. Kids from around the world and in the United States suing the government and getting federal district judges.
Oh, great. More Greta Thunbergs. Am I saying her name right, Bridget? Is it Thunberg?
Thunberg.
I wouldn't want to not pronounce it correctly, but yeah, Thunberg.
Thunberg.
Yeah.
Greta Thunberg, yes.
It's more Greta's than you're saying, Mark. We're going to have more Greta's out there suing the government and lecturing us.
And that's one thing. So what they're doing, though, essentially is they're going to make the cost of meat. We're not supposed to eat that. They're going to make vehicles. They don't need to ban your automobile or your SUV. They're going to make gas so expensive. They're going to hammer the automakers with corporate average fuel economy standards so high that they'll stop making them. They're going to hammer the economy. They're going to hammer farmers. Bill Gates, the biggest farm owner in America now, according to NBC News, they're going to move us away from that, raise the cost. They're going to go through every aspect of our life. Even you have things like Blackstone and China buying out real estate. They're doing all of this sort of beneath the surface, and they're going to control the markets. And so they're going to control energy. They're going after through something called ESG, environment, social governance. The Biden administration stopping banks from issuing loans to energy companies for energy exploration, drilling, mining. So all of that's happening. No one's really paying attention. What's the end result of that? Energy shortages, price shortages, economic collapse. And what does that mean? Guaranteed basic income for Americans, a government that cares, politicians who can have guaranteed people, voters for the rest of their life as they get more and more people hooked on government because they're going to have to pay and subsidize more so people can afford basic energy. This is their future. And
that's their goal. That's what they want. And by the way, the COVID was a great trial run because there were way too many sheeple that just went along and said, oh, fine, that's great. Okay. Oh, well, no, we better do that. So they found out that their little, evil, sinister plans work. Do you think they can accomplish 10% of what they want to get done? I know what they want to do.
Absolutely.
What are they going to get done?
I think 40, 50%. What they're going to get done is, first of all, energy shortages, price hikes. That's the biggest thing. And they're going after the internal combustion engine. I have multiple sources now from academia, journals, government reports calling for the end of private car ownership. This is one of their wish lists. I don't think they'll get that anytime soon, but they are going to get limited people driving, airline prices going through the roof. We have activists saying in order to fly in a climate emergency, it has to be for, quote, morally justified. In other words, they can't just let people fly. The same with COVID. You can't go unless it's, essential services. So they're trying this, and ultimately shortages, price increases, and the cost of everything is going to go up, from homes to vehicles to food. And this is part of their plan, because then they can say, well, we're going to subsidize you more. I have a whole thing about the universal basic income. 1972, the government tried to do this guaranteed annual income. George McGovern was a nominee. He was a champion of it. He went down in the biggest defeat. Even his Democratic opponents in the primary opposed it. Fast forward, they've softened up America enough where the government can screw up the economy, energy, home, food, and now they're going to force people to accept government handouts, guaranteed annual income, monthly income, as the Biden administration has been doing, and this is now happening. And what that does is it transforms America to everyone dependent on the government. And then, of course, anyone who ever wants to cut that, you have a loyal class of voters who are always going to vote against it. At the same time, they can, through the bureaucracy, without a vote, without a lot of stuff, continue to make everything more restrictive. There was a great article at Climate Depot today, Peter Hitchens, the UK columnist, comparing this strategy essentially to what happened in the old Soviet Union, where at some point we're going to just be, you're not even going to know how we got there, but it's sort of a creep where everything, you're not going to be able to afford a car, you're not going to be able to afford a home, your diet, meat's going to be fabulous, incredibly expensive. And this is what's going to happen. And this is what their plan is. They don't want a battle. They don't want a debate. They don't want it head on. They don't want public hearings. They don't want anyone to see what they're doing. And that's why cabinet agencies, financing, and the bureaucracy and executive orders are the order of the day for this. I call it the Chinification of America. for years. Everyone from Obama's energy secretary to New York Times, Tom Friedman, to the UN climate chief praised China's one-party rule. Well, what did COVID give the once free West? Chinese-style one-party rule where you had unelected bureaucrats literally telling you can't go to weddings, funerals, and if you tell on your neighbor who has a backyard barbecue, you can have your utilities cut off. Chinese social credit system. They were able to achieve it with COVID. They now want to switch it over to climate. There was a reason the progressives have loved China for decades. They're trying to impose that one-party system on America, and they've been largely successful, at least temporarily, with COVID. The question is, how do we fight back on the COVID measures, and are they going to morph this over to climate and start in a way that most people aren't going to notice? And they can really do a lot stealthily.
Fascinating conversation to be continued tomorrow on What's on Your Mind, as well as in Bismarck this week. And again, details at, let me give you the exact.
It's a BeTruthful.org.
And by the way, this is a new organization, Be Truthful. They're trying to bring in speakers like Mark and others where you don't get this in most of the media and everything else. So I'm glad they're doing Bell Mayhew's Auditorium. And tickets are $35 for adults, students for $25. All the details at BeTruthful.org. And we're looking forward to having Mark in North Dakota. Gutsy guy.
It's going to be one of the greatest speeches of climate and energy. So.
Look forward to it, Mark. Great talking to you. Thanks. We'll chat again tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Scott.
And you know what? He is giving you a blueprint on what they want to have happen. The only way that doesn't happen is if there's more chances for you to interact with Mark at events like this. More times that you're going to climatedepot.com, getting the information, battling the facts. This is a we the people deal. If we the people are not engaged and aware of what the plans are, game over. They win. So it is important to be at events like this. Read his books, know the information, challenge this stuff, do what you can. Texter says, this is actually somebody commented on the stream, said, all this stuff your guest is talking about, Alex Jones has been talking about for 20 years now, Todd said. Alex Jones is, an example of somebody that's out there talking about this and a lot of things. You're not wrong, Todd. I would argue Marc Morano's done it with more credibility than anybody because of how he's done it from the perspective early on of the Senate and with Jim Inhofe. But you're right. There are the other people that are talking about it. It's not something that hasn't been talked about. Unfortunately, the noise from the left and the greenies are a lot louder than Kevin Kramer says this well. These people that run big banks, as an example, the top 10 biggest banks in the world, they have all kinds of these activists in their left ear and nobody in their right ear. That's why you need folks like Marc Morano and others doing this. Julianne said, right on, Scott, about the farmers and love of our planet and our land. Exactly right. Put them up against anybody. No doubt about it. Look forward to continuing the conversation with Mark tomorrow on What's on Your Mind and seeing him in North Dakota this week as well. Take a break, and we're going to come back and laugh to end the show. We're going to feel the love. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what the Chris Berg Show is all about. From the PetroServe USA studios. More after this. Don't go away. So DJ Coulter's my insurance agent, American Family Insurance. I want him to be yours too. I really do. And DJ, tell folks what you do differently at DJ Coulter Agency with the business lines.
Well, Scotty, we sit down with business owners and we ask them a lot of questions to make sure that truly have their world protected. And you need to have not just your liability, you need to not just have your building, any assets in the building. Now we have cyber liability coming at us.
DJ Coulter, American Family Insurance, 235-6641, djcoulter.com.
Start the new year up right with Menards Bag Sale. Pick up a bag in store and get 15% off everything you can fit in the bag now through January 15th. Whether you pack it, load it, stuff it, or stack it. From light bulbs to tools, snacks, and much more. Fit it in the bag and save 15%. So pick up a bag in store and find out how much you fit in the bag now through January 15th. Available in store only at Menards.
Save big money at Menards.
If you're tired of expensive cable bills, you can cut the cord and get Newsmax TV for free. Millions of Americans are watching Newsmax. I watch it all the time. It's on all major cable systems or you can get it free on streaming platforms. Watch Newsmax on smart TVs like Samsung, LG, Vizio, and more. Find Newsmax on your hub guide or search button. Streaming free on Amazon Fire, Roku, Xumo, Pluto, TiVo, Apple TV, Chromecast, and more. More than 7 million have downloaded the free Newsmax app on their smartphone, too. There's no subscription. Download Newsmax app and start watching. Forbes calls Newsmax a news powerhouse. Watch great shows. Mike Huckabee, Greg Kelly, Rob Schmidt, Timon and Silk, Stinchfield, and more. America is tuning in to Newsmax TV. It's the fastest growing cable news channel. And it's a source I trust, and you can trust them too. Newsmax, real news for real people.
Why High Plains Apache? Well, there are so many reasons it's why High Plains Apache. Ask your neighbors about their sales and service or new and used deals on sprayers, the parts and service department, and yes, a very well-respected sales department. Everything you'll need to get started this season with the sprayers for your operation. You'll find out a lot more at the website, High Plains Apache Sprayers. You'll find them at highplainsapache.com. That's highplainsapache.com.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again.
Glad to have you along with us on the Chris Berg Show. That, by the way, is the theme from the Golden Girls. But it also is a good fit for the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free, because we love that you're here and you're listening. And Chris Berg, somebody that been on the radio, been on TV. Chris Berg, of course, Point of View on KVLY and Valley News Live, KXJB for years and years and years. A great show, and a lot of people are discovering that Chris is right here on the radio every afternoon, now from 4 until 5, and doing more and more and more with us, and so excited about it. In fact, I was in Florida last week on vacation, ran into some folks from Grand Forks, and they said, we love Chris Berg on the radio, and we love that we get him a little earlier in the day rather than at 6:30 at night like we used to do on TV. So folks are listening from all over and watching online, and we appreciate it. But one of the things I mentioned this earlier I love about the show is just you feel good after listening to Chris's show, even if you're sort of listening to a topic like we just did for the Lion part of the show, Lion's share of the show today, that's a little depressing as we find out what these people want to do to us. But he makes you feel good, and I wanted to do that today as well and celebrate Betty White, who died this weekend, just weeks short of her 100th birthday. Here is some of the best of Betty White from the Golden Girls. Listen and laugh.
We couldn't pass a horse without Charlie saying, "Can I show you something in an Oxford?" And then he'd laugh, and I'd laugh. Sometimes even the horse would laugh. I mean, I was the one who thought up big squeaky toys for cows. By the time I got to high school, the kids had made up this really mean nickname for me just because I had hairy legs. What'd they call you? Rose with the hairy legs.
You could call me Enrique.
No, I don't think I can. Maybe I better talk to Nurse Defarge. I think I could handle it with a little more tact.
Ah, good morning, ladies.
Not for you, nursey, nurse. Someone was actually able to deceive me once. Do tell, Rose. St. Olaf's most famous OBMAG.
What's that?
Obstetrician magician.
Oh, boy.
The amazing Shapiro. He delivered Bridget. But it was so confusing. It's a girl. Now it's a dove. Now it's a glass of milk. I don't know how he got her in that deck of cards.
Oh, my gosh. A magician there. We love Betty White. Rest in peace. Thanks for the laughs. See you tomorrow, folks. Bye-bye.